late night cage fight.
Someone's going to steal the Declaration of Independence.
Steal the Declaration of
The
Independence.
treasure of the Knights Templar is the treasure of all treasures.
Oh, I didn't know that. Really?
How's this admiring a cage? Fits you pretty good.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of Late Night Cage Fight. I'm Reese. I'm here with Steve and Kevin. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Ready to rock.
Yeah, ready to rock. That's what I love to hear. So we just finished watching Nicolas Cage's second film, Rumblefish. And before
So,
yeah, go ahead.
I honestly, on that note, I realized something as I was doing some research for this movie that this was Nick's second released film. Rumblefish was actually recorded prior to Valley Girl.
Oh, is that so?
Yes, it was actually because of his role in in Rumblefish, because of his accomplishment and because of being in that movie, that helped him get his role in Valley Girl, which ultimately released prior and launched his career.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. That's going to kind of change my theory about why I think Nick got this particular role.
Yeah.
But that makes sense as well. Hey, thank you for that little tidbit, that little factoid, Steve. That's why we keep you around, right?
Yeah.
Great. But before we start with Rumblefish, we want to remind you that the last film we watched was Valley Girl, and we have a few updates regarding Valley Girl. And I'm going to throw the first one at you, Steve, because this one might be the best.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I will challenge that.
MGM has remade Valley Girl. In fact, what I'm reading is they've actually shot the whole thing, and it was set to come out June 29th this year.
This year?
Yeah, this year. But
fuck my asshole.
But they put it on hiatus. They had to hold it back. Yeah.
I wonder why.
I'm going to tell you why,
Steve. Because
Steve.
they couldn't live up to the original?
No, I'm going to tell you why, Steve. Because of one of the actors who's in the film and something he did this year that was a little shocking. He's not actually an actor. He's a YouTube star. No, his name's Logan Paul.
Oh, even better.
Yeah, Logan Paul is in this movie.
Is he Tommy?
Unfortunately, no, I don't think he was Tommy. I don't believe so.
It would fit.
Oh, yeah. It would also... I couldn't imagine a version of Valley Girl that could be any worse until now. But unfortunately, Logan Paul, Kevin, he's a YouTube star. He's a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got like 17 million followers on YouTube, and he thought it would be a good idea to fly to Japan and record people who have just committed suicide in the forest.
Well, that was the coup d'état of what he did.
That's
to fuck
true.
Up. But he was harassing people.
Oh, yeah.
Just completely inappropriately prior to that.
Yes.
And then that was the kind of the coup d'état of like found a dead body in the suicide forest and made a joke out of it.
Right, because that's funny.
I'm sorry.
So what's your news, Steve? Let's hear it.
Not quite as good as a complete full-on remake, but I did find out that there is a kind of like a spiritual sequel to Valley Girl.
Okay.
Called 20 Totally Tubular Years Later.
20 Totally Tubular Years Later.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a retrospective. Where did you find this?
I found it online. It was part of the DVD release that came as part of the 20-year anniversary.
Okay.
So it's I think it's more of like a documentary-esque kind of thing, not so much like a full-on remake, but
interesting.
It seems interesting. I kind of want to check it out.
Yeah, I think we have some homework, fellas.
Yeah.
So for episode 3, we may even have more news on Valley Girl. It's crazy that it's so relevant now.
It is. It is.
Because we have the remake, and then also we had the special edition Blu-ray.
If you want to add to the homework, I also found out that there is another spin-off.
Tell me, Sensei.
Of Valley Girls. It's called California Valley Girls.
Oh.
It's actually pornography.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, that's your job. Let us know how that one is.
Yeah. Is Nick Cage in that one too?
I'm not sure.
Well,
but I'm sure he wishes he was.
Yeah,
it was filmed in the same year, though. So
interesting. Wow. It was really filmed in the same year.
Same year.
Wow, I'm surprised they didn't sell more of that. Okay.
So for the follow-up notes that I had from Valley Girl, you had mentioned at one point that Valley Girl was supposed to be based. There was the Frank Zappa song, right?
Yes.
So they originally approached Frank Zappa about kind of being involved in all this, and he told them no.
Good.
Because he had self-respect.
Yeah.
After they did that, he tried to sue them.
No kidding.
No kidding. He ultimately ended up losing.
Yeah, right.
But,
as so often happens when you sue
yeah.
a major motion picture studio.
The important thing to know is that Frank Zappa wanted nothing to do with that movie, and
Yeah.
still wants nothing to do with that movie. So,
Well, I mean, he's dead, but yeah,
Well,
I'm sure.
he still has to protect his reputation.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned also the excessive amount of almost sex scenes in that movie.
Yeah.
So you actually nailed it with the writers.
Nailed it.
Because the director was forced. Part of the agreement was they had to show tits at least 4 times in the movie.
Really?
They had to make it work.
No kidding.
No kidding, because they wanted to
Wow.
make sure it appealed to young male audiences. So
Yeah.
they said tits have to be in the movie at least 4 times.
Wow. I mean, there were tits. I saw them, but I must be an old male audience member
That's right.
because I didn't find it that appealing. Sorry. Is that it for the
didn't make
news?
it worth it. It didn't make it worth it. That's for sure.
Is that it, Steve? Is there any more
Oh
valid?
no, I've got 3 more bits.
Oh Jesus! All right, let's hear it.
3 more. So I called it because Nick was in love with his co-star,
No.
Deborah, the girl that played Julie.
Yeah.
He was real life in love with her.
Stop
And he
it.
swooned over the entire time and wrote her poetry.
Stop it.
Wrote her poetry.
I'm gonna spill my beer.
No, I'm dead.
That
serious.
makes it even worse, man.
It does make
When
it
you watch
worse.
his acting and how he acts towards her.
He spent the entire time on set writing her little poems and giving them to her. She still has some of them to this day. I'm pretty sure they're sitting with her lawyer, but
I don't think she was in a whole lot more movies after that. He's probably the
because she was
reason.
terrified.
She's probably like, I'm done with this shit.
That was sort of her PTSD.
Wow. I'm totally wrong. You've got the good scoop here. Totally.
Man.
So, also,
Oh.
this was Kevin Smith's favorite movie.
Oh.
One of his favorite movies.
What is it with these people? So first Quentin Tarantino and now Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
Whatever. I mean, I don't hate Kevin Smith. He's got some good flicks, particularly the older ones. Clerks, Mallrats, yada yada. But he's also got some real stinkers.
So my final piece of knowledge is what Kevin specifically requested, was the knowledge of why Nick was fired from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Thanks, Steve. I'm glad you go above and beyond.
Absolutely.
Let's hear it.
Anything for a friend.
Great.
Oh yeah, thanks.
So there were a number of items. One, he lied about his age to get a leading role for the movie. He was
Okay.
only 17 at the time.
Yep.
He lied. He said he was old enough, but they couldn't do it because the direction or the directors, writers, studio, I'm not sure at that point, wanted a lot of nudity in this that later ended up getting cut. I mean, they wanted like some full frontal fucking damn near rape scenes, just to try to get people, get people real riled up. ready
What
to
the
go see it.
hell was going on in the
Oh,
80s?
man, there were a lot of shit going on back then.
Cocaine and hookers, my friend.
So that was the big reason. But also because when he did his original pitch for the movie, it was really dark. Really dark. And they were kind of a little bit scared.
Okay, say that again. His pitch for his character.
For the main character, for the main character that he was originally trying to go for in Fast Times.
Oh. He took a real dark approach with that character, is what you're saying.
Yeah. And they were not feeling it.
Do you know dark in terms of what? Like creepy dark or like depressing?
I'm not sure the exact details, but it kind of made it sound a little bit more on the creepy end.
I mean, knowing Nick,
Yeah.
he probably took it to the nth degree and
he does. And he does. But even being in there is a somewhat supporting role because again
Yeah.
he was only 17, so he could only work limited hours due to his age.
Okay.
This was, of course, that he was still casted in this movie as Nicholas Coppola. This is before he had changed his name to Cage.
Right.
He used to brag to all the other guys on the set about how he was going to be more famous than everybody else because of his uncle.
Oh.
To the point that everybody hated him and mocked him.
Really?
And made fun of him about it.
How do you know this? Where did you find this?
This is the research that I've done, son.
Wow. So people were laughing at Cage even then.
Laughing at Cage, and this is my theory is that this is why he changed his name.
Ah, makes sense.
Because ultimately, what he tells people is that he changed his name because he didn't want to be held back, and he wanted to prove that he could do it by himself, and he didn't need the Coppola name in order to, define himself.
Yeah.
But I think that's because he fucked up so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking that he was a badass, and everyone's like, dude, come on.
But you're saying, so are you saying Rumblefish was filmed first?
Yeah, Rumblefish was filmed first. So after Fast Times at Ridgemont High, he picked up with Rumblefish. He started filming that, and then moved in from that into Valley Girl, which will ultimately end up hitting the box office first.
Okay. So are we ready to start talking about Rumblefish? Does that end the Steve news segment?
Yeah, the only in-between point between the Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Valley Girl was that ultimately when he left Fast Times, he actually ended up spending a short time selling popcorn at the Fairfax Theater before Uncle Francis was like, "All right, dude, come on, let's go. Let's get you out."
My popcorn is ready.
Okay, because my theory with Rumblefish is that Francis Ford Coppola didn't want him in it. I mean,
and maybe, and I will throw in a bit of that argument throughout this as well.
Or I shouldn't say didn't want him in it, but had a degree of reluctance in casting
I can see
him.
that.
But I mean, we'll never know. But let's go ahead and talk about 1983's Rumblefish, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. So, Steve, why don't you tell us what happens in this film?
So the movie kind of kicks off in like this. What is it? They're in like a bar playing pool.
Yeah, Benny's Billiards.
And billiards. Yeah, sure, whatever. Pool. Dude comes in. What is it? Who's the guy? It's Morpheus, right?
It is Morpheus. It's Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah. Morpheus comes in. He's like, "Hey, who's the main character? Who's the main guy in this movie? What was his name again?"
How can you forget? Rusty James.
You're Rusty James. That's right, Rusty James. I forget. They probably only said his name at least 75 times throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Which
right.
Yeah, never just Rusty.
Once every 1.5 minutes, something like that.
And by the way, Lawrence Fishburne's character, his name was Midget.
Yeah. So he comes in and he's like, "Hey,
Biff Wilcox.
Wilcox. I remember.
Biff Wilcox looking for you, Rusty James.
Wilcox wants to fight from Kroger."
Okay.
And main character in this movie, of course, is Matt Dillon. So that's where the central focus is throughout all of this. Nick kind of plays like an interesting support role throughout all this. Like the whole intro scene is really, really kind of interesting to me, right? So you've got Matt Dillon's character, Rusty James, who's like the next Karate Kid.
Okay.
And then you've got Nick Cage, who looks like he's about ready to go, like he's like the kingpin of the bowling league.
These things happen, Rusty James.
Yeah, Smokey.
And then you got Steve, who's like the resident nerd. I mean, he's even got like his books and his little notepad and everything to go along with it. And then sweaty ass BJ.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the dude who slaps himself in the face, right?
Yeah.
Before the fight.
Yeah. So it comes in and Midget is getting them prepared for the fight, and they're all getting worked up, getting ready for it, getting headed out.
Right. And old Benny, he's behind the counter going, "I don't like that cussing. Stop that cussing."
I don't like that cussing.
Bring it down. Cool it off.
So what is Rusty James? Rusty James ordered himself a good old glass of chocolate milk, put some hair on his chest, like a real man.
All right.
I got a kick out of that because it was the only time in the movie that he's not drinking alcohol, and it was the only time they made a reference to the fact that he was drinking some hard shit.
All right.
Because he had to pay for it.
Yeah. That's right. Put him some hair on his chest because he had to pay for it. So I did get a kick out of the fact that for Nick in specific, I mean, he was He was really trying to be like the cool guy throughout all this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the fight now.
But before we get to the fight, I mean, like as we're heading through there, there's just one other point that I have to fit out.
Okay.
The whole movie's in black and white, right? Except there's like one scene as they're passing by like the shop or something.
Yeah, the pet
And
store.
there's- Pet store. And there's this colored fish.
Right.
Only color you see in
Yep.
the whole movie.
Yep,
These
it's
fish
significant.
as you're walking by.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about that. Let's just go through what happens.
So, what is that? He stops. He checks out his girl and his
Oh,
girl's
that's right.
little sister.
Yeah.
She wants some of that D.
Yeah. Yes, he does.
Yeah, she does.
Hey, Rusty James.
Hey, Donnie, your sister home?
Yeah, but I thought you were coming to see me.
And then her older sister's like, no,
You're
I
only
want the
paying-
D. Will you go to your room? I'm going to get the D right here on our living room couch.
That's right. That's right. But I do have to admit, throughout the whole beginning of this movie, I mean, straight from the get-go, I was like, man, compared to what we watched last time,
Yeah.
I mean, camera work is on point, acting is on point,
Okay,
effects are
okay.
on point.
We'll talk about that. Let's just go through what happens.
So we get up to the fight, right? And this is they're fighting in what like a train station, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So they come up to the train station and call out for like the dudes to fight. It's like the fucking number 2 from Bunraku. Did you ever see that?
Oh God, Steve, these
yeah.
references you throw out.
Well, does he look Japanese? He looks fishy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
know,
get
right?
you. You know, for
Yeah.
me, it reminded me of the Bad music video by Michael Jackson.
That's good. Yeah.
In fact,
yeah.
it may have been the inspiration. I'm sure that this movie predates that. Well, I'm not sure, but I think so.
So yeah, I mean the fight goes on. If I remember correctly, I was reading up a little bit. There was like a big. This was like a big choreography point or something. There's like a lot of big elements here.
Yeah.
That were like really.
Are you flipping through the movie right now?
What is that? Can you
Because
hear it?
I hear the movie.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I heard
Oh,
the
my bad.
train.
Yeah. Okay. There's a train.
I gotta remember. I'm not good at this. I'm not
That's
good at
cool.
solve memories and things.
That's cool. All right. So I'll help you out.
All right.
So they had the fight. He's Rusty James. He's fighting Biff Wilcox, but old Biff decided to bring a knife to a fist fight. Yeah, and which is pretty shitty. We get a pretty stellar action sequence, and then next thing you know, Rusty James is you think he's down for the count, and then our hero arrives. Right?
That's right.
Who's our hero?
Steve.
Motorcycle Boy.
Oh well, first it was Steve.
Okay, well,
Because
the
Steve brought in
Motorcycle
the
Boy.
fucking flaming wood that Russ James used to beat his ass.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And
He started getting the upper hand big time, and then
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Motorcycle
Yeah.
Boy came in to fucking
That's
steal
right. He
the
was
thunder.
he was beating him with that burning piece of wood.
Yeah.
I remember.
Until he got fucking cut.
Yeah. So Motorcycle Boy shows up. Rusty James gets sliced, and then you're not quite sure what Motorcycle Boy is gonna do. And of course, Motorcycle Boy is played by Mickey Rourke, probably one of his, if not his, best role. He launches his motorcycle at Biff, and I assume kills him. Yeah.
yeah,
It certainly seems that way.
Right. It's pretty impressive. Then the cop shows up. What's his name?
I don't know. He's the weirdest ass cop. It was
Patterson.
William. Was that? Oh yeah, William Smith.
Right.
Patterson the cop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a badass cop. He's
you
like-
say Will Smith.
Weird. Yeah, it was Will Smith. When I originally saw the credits, I thought it was like the Will Smith. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, that don't make sense.
Will Smith and Whiteface.
Yeah.
So we learn that Motorcycle Boy, he's come back, but we get the sense that he was real important at one time. We learn that he was a leader of a gang or maybe multiple gangs, and for some unknown reason, he left to go to California.
Yeah, I don't think they even knew where he went, until he told his brother when he came back.
Right.
we skip through these scenes where like Rusty James is like bleeding out on the bed and kind of like bedridden.
Bleeding. You're bleeding everywhere.
Right.
He's going and like visiting his girl, and then out of nowhere he's like attacking this. Well, not physically attacking, but like verbally attacking this druggie.
Yes.
In stairwell.
Cassandra, I think is her name.
Cassandra.
Because she knows the motorcycle boy's back, and she's trying to get with him.
Yeah.
And they obviously have some kind of history together. And he's like, "Oh, get out of here! Are you on that heroin?"
Fucking hell.
She's like, I'm not addicted though. I'm not addicted. I just thought I could do it once, and feel a little better.
I just do it sometimes for fun when I'm lonely.
Yeah, I mean, is that addicted? No. Yeah, I mean, okay, that was significant. We have to admit that every scene, every moment, every shot in this movie has a purpose. Has been.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get into that after we get through the plot and the important beats that happen in this movie. So, let's see. As you said, yeah, he Rusty James got a pretty nasty knife wound. We meet Cassandra.
Well, glass wound.
Glass? It was glass?
Yeah, he cut him with broken glass.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. See, that's why I need you guys. That's why I need you guys.
Yeah. Well, see, they broke like a window, and then a bunch
yeah,
of
he
glass
smashed him in
fell
the
out.
window. Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah. So he grabbed the piece of glass and slices him with that.
You want that cat, Rusty James?
What a
And it looked worse than it was.
What a
apparently.
coward. Yeah. And Steve, Steve is like trying to be the medic, right?
Well, apparently Steve knows the cop somehow. 'Cause
Right.
The cop, he was all like, "What are you doing here, Steve?"
Yep. And the cop is like, you need to pick better company. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right. So Steve is a character who is like he's the straight guy. You know what I mean? Like he's got himself mostly together. He's probably on the best path compared to all the other characters. And he's something that the other characters who are, by and large, the rebels, the gangsters, what have you, who are the counterculture.
I had questions about the whole Rusty James gang in the first place.
Right. But they're rebelling against what society is trying to turn you into as a kid, becoming an adult, right? And he is what they perceive they are supposed to become, which is boring, cowardly. You know what I'm saying?
As far as I can tell, given the time period, Steve is the only one that's from the valley, and all the rest are the outsiders.
Yes. Yeah, man. He's from the valley the whole time. He's like, well, you should have been like, well, I've been to California.
Yeah, I'm from the valley.
I'm from there.
Yeah, so Rusty James and his brother, Motorcycle Boy, they're hanging out with their dad.
Yeah, their dad played by Dennis Hopper, and he's a complete washed up drunk.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What does he call his dad? He calls him a lawyer on welfare.
Strange. At least I ain't lawyer on welfare.
So we flash forward to that to just kind of a night of like drinking and being passed out with him.
Right, but that's important because that's when we learn that Motorcycle Boy is Rusty James's brother.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We move from that into a crazy sex party, followed up with
yes,
Rusty James being kicked out of school.
That's right. He's suspended. Okay.
Indefinitely.
Yep. Now, is that the same sex party where Rusty James has sex with another girl?
Another girl is kind of an understatement because, I mean, honestly, like, that looks like the best sex party in any movie I've seen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I saw that scene and I thought, man, I wish there were sex parties like that when I was in high school, college,
Right.
or
I wish there were
probably
sex parties like that now.
any point in my life.
Yeah, I would tell my wife, like, sorry, I got shit to do tonight. Be back tomorrow.
Yeah, is that when they make the trip over to the other side, right? They leave the valley? What is it, the other side of the river? So we also have to mention, we don't quite know, unless I missed something, we don't quite know where this movie's set.
No.
Somewhere,
In fact,
I'm thinking...
I made a note at one point because the amount of times they mentioned California throughout this movie, I'm like, where the fuck does this movie take place?
Yeah, it's obviously like an industrial city. I was thinking Midwest or maybe somewhere in the
It
South.
has to be somewhere where the idea of being in California in this time period is somewhat obscure.
Oh, yeah.
Because they make a very strong point that being in California is an obscure idea.
Yeah. Obscure. Yeah, you could say obscure or magical almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like they never go to the ocean because he asks him about the ocean. He just says, I never made it that far. California got in the way.
Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting line.
Yeah, so probably somewhere, kind of in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm not skipping too much. If I am, back me up. But there's an important scene where they're out on the town. It's Rusty and Motorcycle Boy and Steve. This may be too close towards the end. But it's important because after they've gone out partying and stuff, you find out that Rusty's older brother, Motorcycle Boy, actually went to California to find their mom.
No, that's pretty much like the only thing that really happens in between there, from what you're saying and this, is just some other, Rusty James talking to his girl, and why you all upset about me fucking other girls.
Okay, that's a big part too. Yeah. She breaks up with him.
Kind of. I don't know. She doesn't really make like a definitive like we're done kind of thing.
Okay.
But just kind of like a.
I think she
fuck
does.
You, you're an asshole.
Okay. Well. Yeah.
You treat me like shit kind of thing.
Yeah, I think most people in healthy relationships say "fuck you, asshole" a lot.
Welcome to 2018. That's how things work now.
Just go fuck yourself, all right? You are an asshole.
Don't you think maybe Nick Cage got one of his "fuck you" lines from Valley Girl from this actual scene?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. So we move into and then we kind of move into some like one-on-one scenes with like Rusty James and his brother, where there's like a lot of like real psychological kind of shit going on.
Yeah.
Talking to the cop and kind of like you don't really know him kind of things.
Yeah. They really play up Motorcycle Boy as this legendary hero.
Yeah.
And the cop.
Well, and the cop kind of questions him as like he's not the hero you think he is.
Right.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
And also throughout the movie, we get these moments where Rusty James, whether it's in like a kind of monologue or he's talking to another character about how he wants to be like his brother. He sees himself becoming
I'm
his
gonna
brother.
be like him in a few years.
And
I'm gonna look
everyone,
like him in a few years.
everyone in the movie basically tells him either you don't know your brother or you cannot become like it.
Yeah.
He's an anomaly. It's what his dad tells him. It's what the guy in the bar tells him, right?
So it's kind of like in the middle of this movie, I started really kind of questioning like if this was like some what the fuck's that movie? Fight Club shit going on here.
Oh, I definitely thought of Fight Club watching this.
Yeah, I was like, is this guy even real, or is this all just like a figment of his imagination and like him kind of projecting it?
Right, without a doubt, Fight Club was inspired by this movie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I really think so.
So let's see.
We go into there was like the party scene where like Motorcycle Boy kind of like he's chilling out with Cassandra a little bit. Rusty James is kind of like that girl's disgusting, right?
Yeah.
She's a druggie, right?
Right.
Steve's like, I don't know, man, I'd do her.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, typical Steve. And somewhere during this evening of debauchery, Motorcycle Boy disappears. And
it's like shortly after that. Yeah, like there's a little bit of the conversation with Rusty James and Motorcycle Boy afterwards, kind of talking about like you were saying, his mother and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then he ultimately just kind of like he's gone suddenly. You don't really understand why or where he went or anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so Rusty and Steve, they end up in this dark alley, and immediately they know that it's not good, and they get jumped by these two thugs. And the thugs, one of them hits Rusty James in the head with a pipe, and Rusty James then proceeds to fall to the ground and die. Remember this?
Yeah, it was like this weird out of body experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's his spirit escapes his body, and
Yeah.
you see all of the people grieving. You see Patty, his girlfriend or ex-girlfriend, grieving his death with her little sister, and then all his friends.
His sister really wanted that.
Yeah, her sister was supremely disappointed.
You assume it's the death then.
Right. I mean, is he really dead? Is it a dream? We don't know. Is it a hallucination? We'll talk more about that because there are many levels. But he does return to his body, and then who comes to save the day? Motorcycle Boy.
Motorcycle Boy.
Yeah, he arrives, kicks the shit out of the dudes. But when Rusty James comes to, they're in another location, right? Or is it the same one? It's kind of confusing.
So he kind of like, he wakes up a little bit and like sees Motorcycle Boy kind of like finishing everybody off, and then like the next thing you know, they're in a different place.
Right. Okay.
It was a little bit surreal, kind of.
Yeah. Well, surreal is a great word
Yeah.
for this movie. There's a lot of surrealism going on.
Yeah.
Super poetic. But then we kind of get the climax of the movie is right here.
Yeah, they're like under the bridge.
Under the
Just
bridge, yeah.
Steve, what's his name? Rusty James?
Oh, Rusty James.
Rusty James.
That's it.
Rusty James.
Rusty
that's it.
James. Rick James' white brother. Right. And what happens in this scene? And I'm asking seriously because I can't quite remember exactly which part this was, but it was very good.
I don't know. Like he wakes up and he's kind of like, there's just this. Steve's kind of freaking out, going like, "What the fuck's going on?"
Steve's just like done at this point with anything gang related or anything. He's complaining the whole time and acting like everything's so stupid with fighting and gangs, and Rusty's still pretty out of it. He doesn't say a lot there.
Okay.
So basically, Steve's just seems to be kind of pissed a little bit at Motorcycle Boy, and at Rusty, just because I feel like maybe he thinks Motorcycle Boy could steer Rusty into a better direction or something. And
okay.
Yeah. He's just fed up with it at this point because of what just happened.
That's right.
They could have just died.
That's right. And Steve gets Motorcycle Boy to admit that the gangs were nothing. That essentially they meant nothing to him. Am I right?
Yeah.
And because of that,
like he says, tell him. It was I don't remember what he said exactly.
Yeah, it was all for nothing. It was all worth. It was all pointless.
You tell him.
It wasn't anything.
He's like, yeah, I mean, it was fun, but yeah, in the end, I guess it was all pointless.
Yeah, and that's important because this whole film, Rusty James is trying to live up to this image he has of his brother, and in this moment, he finally realizes that his image is false.
Yeah.
It doesn't add up to the man. Then we get back to the billiards place, and this is Nick's shining moment, right?
Well, I mean, so before we get to the Nick shining moment, there was one point that I got a kick out of, and it was right when Rusty James first gets there.
Yeah.
Just like that guy in the background of Valley Girl, just out of nowhere, Rusty James just dumps a cup of water all over his head.
Yeah.
He does?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He just dumps a cup of water in it and he goes, "Man, that feels great."
So fucking hot in here, man.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's hot in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
It just
yeah.
made me think of that guy in the background of Valley Girl.
Yeah, and he's all beat up.
Yeah, he's all beat up.
Right.
I mean, throughout the entire movie, I swear he's like constantly bleeding from that knife wound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that never actually heals, which again makes me kind of question the whole surrealism aspect of the movie.
Right. It's intentional. Definitely.
Yeah. But this was Nick's shining moment.
Yeah.
In the
So
movie.
Patty walks in. Rusty James approaches her.
Yeah, because he wants some of that.
He wants some of that. I mean,
That's,
he's trying to fix
Diane Lane,
things. He's trying to
right?
fix things like Nick was trying to fix things in Valley Girl.
That's right. Nobody tells you you can score with.
Yeah, and she's like, well, we can't fix things because, and then Nicholas Cageless enters. And we find out, well, first he's like, I want to go outside, Rusty James. let's go outside. And Nick is like, I don't want to fight you, man. I don't want to fight you because you're already beat up and I'm just going to kick your ass.
Yeah, because I'm such a badass.
Because I'm such a badass with my perm. Is it a perm? I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't.
It's because he just finished waxing his chest for Valley Girl, so he didn't want to have to take his shirt off.
Right on.
It's like the beginning of it's like it's the most you can do as far as making a fro with all the hair he had. So
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't too crazy. I mean, I kind of,
No, he looked decent at this point in the movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, the beginning he looked like he was getting ready to go on league for the bowling team. But at this point, he actually started looking like, I can reasonably understand this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they go outside, and we find out that Nick Cage, Smokey, kind of engineered part of this so that he could get an in with Patty. And he tells Rusty James, basically, look, I did this because I'm actually smart enough to do this. And you know that I'm the one who actually should lead the gang if we're going to have a leader after Motorcycle Boy. And you know this is true because you're dumb. Everyone tells you you're dumb, and you just don't get it.
It's nothing personal, Rusty James. But nobody would follow you into a gang fight. Because you get people killed. Nobody wants to be killed.
Which is great for Nick Cage line.
Yeah, yes. It's perfect.
Yeah, well, and you didn't mention that he and maybe you were going to say this, but he mentions that if there is going to be if there was still a gang, he would be the president.
Right. Yeah, it would be him.
Yeah, it would be him for sure. Oh yeah.
It would be me. Who else? How does that scene end? Does it end on a friendly note? I think it kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like somewhat abruptly where he basically just says like, "Here you go. Here's my fucking pool stick."
Right.
And Nick's like, "Dude, you're not that cool."
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't flatter yourself.
Don't flatter
That's
yourself. And then he just goes inside.
That's right.
I think that's how it ends.
And then next scene, or one of the next scenes, is at the pet store where we find Motorcycle Boy looking at fish, right? And the fish in the tank, they're separated, he says, because if they were in the same tank, they would kill each other. And if you
but it was like Midget, the fucking Morpheus was walking him up there for whatever
That's right.
grandmass reason. But yeah.
Yeah.
He goes there to find his brother who's looking at the fish.
Right. And like you said before, the fish in this whole movie is black and white.
Right.
And part of that reason is because you find out that Motorcycle Boy is colorblind, but he's not colorblind.
Colorblind and deaf.
And deaf.
Which is another point that I actually want to mention.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. But he's colorblind in the sense that he cannot see color.
Right.
He only can see in black and white, which is why the movie is basically black and white.
Right.
But the fish are colored. You see the blue, red, and he waxes poetic about how the fish have to be separated because if they're together, they fight.
Well, and evidently at the time, and maybe this is somewhat of a time-based thing, but at the time those fish were referred to as rumble fish.
Yes.
Which is where the name of the movie came from.
That's right.
Now, more modernly, I knew them growing up as beta fish.
Sure.
Or what else? Siamese fighting fish.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And earlier in the movie, he refers to gangs as rumbles.
Yeah.
So there's that parallel.
It was this scene that he referred to these fish as rumble fish.
Yeah. Well, he's making the point. It's a metaphor. The fish, are the gang members.
Yeah.
Groups.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
But what does he want to do? He wants to bring the fish home.
Yeah, well, he wants to take them out to the river because he says if they're in a river, if they're in a big enough space, they won't feel the need to fight for their territory.
That's right.
If their space is big enough, yeah.
That's right. So that night, Rusty James follows Motorcycle Boy back to the pet shop.
Yeah, there's like this weird in between, like sublimism, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't quite remember what that was.
It was strange and awkward. There was like a point where they ran into his dad at the bar or something.
Oh yeah, because his dad had to make the point that Motorcycle Boy is somebody who shouldn't be here. He's someone who was born in the wrong era.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then Motorcycle Boy's like, fuck it, I'm out. Peace.
So Motorcycle Boy decides to break into the pet shop, release all of the pets, take the fish to the river, and release them. And he's so quick, on his feet that Rusty James can't keep up with him. And we discover, tragically, that on his way out, he's been shot and killed by one of the police officers.
Because police brutality didn't start recently. That's been a thing since 1983, apparently.
Yeah. It was pretty brutal.
Yeah, I mean, shoot to kill for people that steal fish.
I know. Yeah, I thought it was a bit of a stretch myself. I'm not.
Well, especially because he's white, but.
Yeah. Yep. So he's gone, and Rusty James then decides to finish the job. But he doesn't just finish the job. He takes his brother's motorcycle, and the final shot is him at the ocean.
It's not the ocean. It's like the river.
Oh, it's not?
No, it's like a river, dude. It's like the river in town. It's like the goddamn Muskingum.
Dude, I thought he went to California.
No, dude.
I thought he went all the way.
He walked.
It really did.
He walked like 3 feet over to the Muskingum River, and he was like, "Good enough."
No, I think you're wrong because I swear.
I am not wrong.
I swear.
Am not wrong. Again, I have the movie open. He walks over to his body. He picks up the fish.
Yeah.
And he walks the additional, maybe I'll give it the realistic, 15 feet further
with
to
the bike.
Muskingum River. No, he doesn't have to take the
Oh,
bike.
no. Reese is talking about the a later scene. You're talking about
when he
Steve's
releases the fish.
Steve's talking about throwing the fish in the river.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Well, there isn't much more after that, is there?
After that, yeah, he gets kind of mildly arrested.
Yeah, he gets arrested. Okay.
Yeah. His dad starts drinking again, and then he grabs the bike and drives off into maybe the ocean. It looks like the ocean.
Yeah, because there's some line about that. There's some line about you got to make it to the ocean.
Maybe I don't remember.
So Rusty James, I believe, finally escapes his life. You know what I mean?
Do you think Rusty James was going to the ocean to see if the fish made it there?
Well, I mean, we know he's dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, they make that point enough.
He's a very bright individual.
Patty, his girlfriend, she's like, well, you're just not
Patty,
worth.
his girlfriend is dumb. She's fucking Nick Cage instead of fucking Matt Dillon.
But she tells him,
get
not.
Your priorities straight.
You're just not word smart. Okay, so now I'd like to know.
That's basically the final scene. Yeah.
Right. So what did you guys think about this movie?
I
don't all speak at once.
All right, so I will start. I honestly like I said earlier, I kind of hinted at it. Camera work was on point, acting was on point, the effects are on point. Dude, when we started the open Valley Girl and then moved into this, totally different movie. Totally different movie.
It's really difficult talking about a movie like this without making it sound like an 8th grade language arts class. Or something.
And knowing that the majority of the leading roles in this movie went on to be successful and
true,
appropriately successful careers. Matt Dillon, Mickey Rourke, Diana Lane.
Yes.
Even Chris Penn, really, really, really good actors.
Right.
And have furthered their careers, and even in this movie, in the first 3 to 5 minutes, I was like, this is totally good. And my wife even watched the trailer, and she's like, I don't know if I really want to watch a movie about gangs. Okay. So she was kind of taking care of other things while I was trying to watch the movie.
Yeah.
And she would pop in every now and again, and as she sit in the background, I'm like, honey, you need to watch this movie. This is a really good movie. This is a really good movie. I know Nick is in it, but it's actually a really good movie.
Yeah, I agree. Francis Ford Coppola, of course, world-renowned director, famous for the Godfather films. Those are the only ones I think I've seen from him. He's got an interesting oeuvre.
This is one of Francis Ford Coppola's, this is one of his favorite films.
Oh,
actually,
is it really?
He has done. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know that it's kind of similar to The Outsiders. I've never seen The Outsiders, but The Outsiders is the more well-known.
There's a lot of homage to that because it was based on this was a book based on the same author.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it's S.E. Hinton was his name.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So based on a novel, very poetic movie. Like you said, a lot of surreal elements. The cinematography for me is what stands out the most. Every shot, like I said before, every shot in this movie, very tastefully done, thought out to a T how it was going to be done. Fantastic single and double shot close-ups right out the gate. Acting is solid, and it pains me to say this, guys. It really does. I think Nick Cage is the only one who kind of holds something back. Or do you think he was perfectly cast?
I don't know if he was perfectly cast.
Sure.
But like
maybe
he didn't. Okay, so there's two ideas of this. There's taking Nick Cage and understanding where he came from, and there's taking Nick Cage and not understanding where he came from.
Well, and it's also trying to look at the movie objectively without having any knowledge of Nicolas Cage.
Okay, the same thing that I'm saying, but in better context. So if you understand that Nicolas Cage is the nephew of the director of the movie,
okay,
it gives you a slightly different perspective of him in this film.
Well, that's what I mean. I just felt, especially in the
I know. I'm just pointing that fact out.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing that fact out. So when you look at that and you see him as like, you know, the badass that came in at the end and swooped out the girl and, you know, looks all macho and everything like that, you're like, man, Nick's actually like, man, he's kind of a cool looking guy. He looks pretty tight. He looks pretty tough. He's a pretty tough looking guy.
Yeah.
But,
man, you read my mind. Great.
But if you take that context out and you put any other director that's not related to him,
yeah.
And I don't think that he would have been given the liberties and the freedoms and the roles and the specific direction that he was given.
Exactly.
Whereas in the last movie where you said, give me your best James Dean impression.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Uncle Francis looked at him and said, just don't fuck up.
Well, I just think given the
Read the lines and stop ad-libbing.
Given the right direction.
He tried, he was like, Nick! Get your shit together.
and I'm going to be straight with you, okay? This is 100% honest. Given the right direction, Nick can act, okay?
Absolutely.
He can act.
He acts like an asshole because he knows that it works.
Yes. But compared to the other actors in this movie, and rightly so, because Francis Ford Coppola knows what the fuck he's doing.
Right.
He is overshadowed by their acting.
Yeah, that's true. It's true.
So maybe by saying that, his role...
Nick was a supporting role in this movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Nick was not what drove this movie.
But I think because of that, we may have to disqualify this film.
We might.
We don't get any Cage
out.
outs.
There's so little of him to really define this movie. This movie was defined by Matt Dillon, by Rusty James.
Yes.
Rusty James.
Yeah, and I would say maybe even more by Mickey Rourke.
Mickey Rourke, absolutely.
I mean,
Mickey Rourke, soft-spoken Misty Rourke.
Misty Rourke? Is that after he transitions?
He was so quiet. So that was the other bit I was going to comment on.
Okay.
You mentioned that it was black and white because his character was colorblind, but I don't know if you noticed, but when I was watching the movie, and I somewhat suffer from this myself.
Okay.
He's very soft-spoken.
Yeah, that's his character.
And I am also somewhat hard of hearing, where I typically, like, if there's any loud noises going on in the background, I find it very difficult to focus on what's in front of me.
Okay.
So I watched this movie with subtitles, which made it a little bit easier, but the whole movie, I felt like the background noises were often louder than the voices of the characters, which I think was somewhat also intentional.
I think it was in part intentional, and I think it's also in part due to more modern remastering.
I don't know, because they made a very distinct mention of him being going deaf,
Oh,
and they
yeah.
even made like this big scene of it when they mentioned it, of making of increasing the volume of all the background noises of what he was hearing,
Right.
instead of what was like, of your typical surroundings, and you could hear the
Yeah.
drops. Like
You're right.
when anytime they were in the apartment in their home, you could hear the dripping. Of
Okay.
like something leaking in the house.
Well, the
There
big
was
thing-
always a strong background sound.
A huge element is time.
Yeah.
There are clocks that
Everywhere.
tick,
And smoke.
smoke everywhere. Yeah, that's right. Lots of
Almost every
scenes
scene.
with fog, smoke, ticking clocks, the sounds of just time passing in the background. Yeah, and you're right. Maybe that is a part of trying to express what Mickey Rourke's character is experiencing or perceives. Just like the
I made a
movie being
note
black and
questioning
white.
Who the narrator of this movie was.
Yeah, and-
because there were a couple of points where there seemed to be some narration going on.
Yeah, it was like a monologue or
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, narration. It was narration.
Yeah. So there were points and times that I kind of questioned if maybe the narrator of this movie was in fact Mickey Rourke's character, the motorcycle.
Yeah, I think what was going on, honestly, is you were supposed to question if Mickey Rourke's character and Matt Dillon's may have, in a sense, be one.
Yeah.
Like, the motorcycle boy is one part of this personality,
Right.
and the other part is Rusty James.
Right.
And another part even could be Steve, because they're so...
They're always together.
Well, they're but they're one-dimensional. He's a one-dimensional character, so that's like one aspect of the same person. And it goes along with this idea that the fish are separated so they don't fight, but in the river they're one. They have enough space to be free. They're kind of one family, one unit. There's some deep stuff going on in this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's all from the novel itself, because I forgot that it was a book first, and I was watching, and I'm thinking, man, Coppola, he knows how to get to this level, real well, and there's no real answers. A lot of it's kind of ambiguous. It's kind of up to your own interpretation, and I liked that a lot. I think it's a solid film, probably underrated. Yeah. So Kevin, what's a scene that really stuck out to you?
I don't know if I would really say a scene. There's just there's little tidbits that I was gonna mention that maybe this is a good time to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like at the beginning, did you notice that when they first showed those colored fish? So you obviously noticed the fish. At that time, it's exactly when Matt Dillon said rumble. He said, man, back in the day when with the gangs, we used to rumble all the time. Right when he said rumble, you saw the fish, and it was like, oh, that's like, hey, that's the title. This is the beginning of the movie. That's really clever.
Clever.
So,
yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't notice that. Yeah.
Yeah. I found it really crazy that there's this wild human crawling on the ground, kind of like a zombie in that train station.
Oh yeah.
Did you remember that part?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I thought a zombie or just a crazy rabid homeless guy.
Oh yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, it's
it
kinda
really
creepy.
made the place look rough, and then it really made it look like a music video when what was his name? Biff
Wilcox.
Yeah, Biff Wilcox.
Biff Wilcox
When he comes out, he looks like he looks like a music artist,
He
like,
does.
He's got those dark glasses on, and it's just like somebody like Sting or something. Like, oh, here's the beginning. Here's the beginning of the.
That's what I was saying. Michael
video.
Jackson, bad.
Yeah.
I'm still saying you gotta watch. You have to watch Bunraku at some point.
Well, does he look Japanese? He looks fishy.
Oh God, Steve, just cut it with the Bunraku.
Fuck you.
All right, so I'd like to talk more about that fight scene.
It's a good scene.
It is a great scene, even though it's completely unrealistic. When he's hanging from the thing.
So, I
ahead.
will admit,
Yeah, he really.
I did a little bit of research on this scene. Okay, so this
Well, that's
scene
great because I
was-
didn't. So you got to
Okay.
teach me, Daddy.
Okay, good. So this scene was actually specifically like sought after by Coppola, right? The director. He enlisted Michael Smuin, Smuin.
Okay, it's probably pronounced like Smin or something that we don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not sure Smin.
Well, let's look him up.
He was from the San Francisco Ballet. He actually enlisted him as a choreographer for this scene specifically because he liked the way that he choreographed violence. So he basically said, "I want you to do this whole scene, and here's the elements, the specific visual elements that I want in.
Okay.
I want a motorcycle. I want broken glass. I want knives, gushing water, blood. Those 5 things. After that,
Yeah.
it's all you, bro.
Hey, and spot on, Kevin,
Spot on.
because
Fantastic.
there was
job.
such musicality to that fight scene.
Yeah,
and
it really was. It was very artistic, and that's why I mentioned Bunraku because honestly, Bunraku, the entire idea behind it is a very much a play. It is it's a dance. That's
You're
the
right.
whole idea behind it.
You're right.
And that's really the element that I got out of that
Yeah.
that fight scene. is
I
it was
just
a
I don't
dance.
think Bunraku is on the same level as this movie.
I don't. Okay,
But what you're
so
getting at-
Bunraku in an entirety, no. Bunraku in a scene by scene element, absolutely.
Yeah.
When you take the fight scenes of Bunraku
Okay.
versus the fight scene in this movie,
Yeah.
they're 100% on the same level. And the entirety of the movie, no, it's garbage. Garbage comparison.
Oh, I don't know. It was difficult for me to really. It's difficult for me to express how I felt about the fight scene because at first I thought, well, I mean, it looks kind of cheesy and dated, but then
that was the idea. That was the idea. And
yeah.
I liked it.
But by
I
the
liked
end of
how it was not a fight. It was a dance.
right.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
but
good
it was
point.
Yeah.
it was shot so well though, and
Yeah.
then the final shot where Mickey Rourke gets the guy with the motorcycle. I did not
Yeah.
see that coming. You knew
No.
you got this sense that oh shit, he's gonna do something to Biff Wilcox. He's
Now,
gonna
in
kill him.
2018, ideals of cinematography, the final scene was a little sloppy.
The final scene of the fight. You mean the motorcycle part?
The motorcycle part. Yeah, absolutely. Where he's just like turns on a motorcycle and just like lifts off of it. The motorcycle just goes straight at him, and then he just lifts off. And this.
But that's the thing. I feel like you could take.
Again, for 1983. Fantastic.
I don't know. I mean, yeah,
For
but I feel like
2018,
you could take any shot of that fight scene and say, I mean, that's kind of cheesy compared to today. But
I don't know.
when you
rest of
take
it
it
is
all
still-
in,
The rest of it is still, I think,
Yeah.
good in terms of
Okay.
art.
but overall,
Of
overall,
dance.
we would agree that it worked.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think that if I were to reshoot this entire thing in black and white, trying to shoot for an old style movie, I think you would hold true to just about all of the elements,
Yeah.
except for the actual motorcycle movement. And
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe this is just me in the terms of like, my ideals of mechanics and motion and those kind of things, but
Yeah, but
I
it's
just
like you
that
said.
little part was a little awkward.
But I think it was supposed to be the surrealist element.
I think that it was the limitations of 1983
Oh, it
and
could
their
be.
capabilities.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
I honestly do, because I think that there was just so many things that they had the technology to really be able to do
Yeah.
in that age.
Well, I thought it was a quick enough shot. I didn't expect him to fly like he did, to do that flip. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it. I was shocked. I thought, dude, that guy's dead as shit.
Dead as shit. And that was the idea.
And what did you guys think about the surreal elements? Like, the big one, of course, that when he dies and goes out of body, or even when he's in class and he sees Patty, right, up taking her clothes off just by the ceiling. Yeah. Why don't we talk about Patty? Because I thought Diane Lane was great in this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
perfectly
rock hard.
cast. Yeah, beautiful. She had such chemistry and allure. Oh my God, I just thought she was beautiful. She just had that like hometown beauty. Does that make sense?
Yeah, she was like a Catholic schoolgirl, but so kind of supposed to be probably like the girl next door kind of thing.
Yeah, and not the one
Not
where
the Stanley Kubrick.
Not the movie. But she did play that part really well though, because she put off that kind of innocence kind of thing, and it worked really well. But and definitely just seemed like somebody a lot simpler, that wasn't going to be just some girl that had a lot of experience with guys or anything like that. She definitely did a good job with expressing. It just seems so real. Her acting seems so real as far as her anger and how she played that out and everything.
Right.
Wasn't over the top or anything like that.
And I got to give props to Nick
Pretty
Cage for
appropriate.
dumping Julie for Patty.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that worked out pretty good for him.
Yeah. And it's so hard to discuss this movie trying to center it around Nick or focus on Nick, because he doesn't have as much screen time, and it seems like what we love about the movie is so much more than Nick.
Right, and that's I tried it. I took a few notes on like Nick specifically, and like
Well, let's
every
hear
bit
'em.
of the notes that I took on Nick was like basically Nick. Maybe it's Nick's character, maybe it's Nick in general.
Okay.
Is jealous of Matt Dillon's character Rusty James. Like that's every note that I took relates back to just him wanting to be Rusty James.
Well,
It's either like Nick is jealous of his girl, or like Nick wants to do that, or like Nick's owning him, or like Nick's finally getting his shit together, like turning into a badass. But like every single note that I took on Nick specifically relates to like him wanting to be Rusty James, wanting to be the lead character, wanting to be the one that runs the show, wanting to be the man of action.
Right.
National treasure, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah. Well, and that's why I think Smokey went for the girl, to prove a point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think Coppola, I question if it wasn't one of those things where he's like, Uncle Francis, hey, what if
God damn it,
I steal his girlfriend? Wouldn't that be awesome? That would be totally awesome.
No.
And then like he comes back and he's like, dude, where's my girl? And I'm like, I should be the leader.
Here's
Wouldn't
how.
that be the coolest thing ever? And Frank's
Yeah,
like,
now
know
now he's
what?
better.
It's not gonna ruin my movie. I'll let you have it.
Now he won up the main star. He stole the girl.
Yeah. Well.
And I feel like that was one of his ad libs. I feel like that was him. That was him being like, Uncle Francis, just let me have this. And Uncle Francis is like, Nick,
Yeah.
I actually like having an income.
Yeah, that's what I was
It's
gonna
like-
say. It was more.
It's
It's
like,
probably
but-
more like.
But don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, man. Because like, you know.
Yeah, man. Did you like the movie, Kevin? Because I know you're listening to Steve and I just rave on and on. Did you like it?
Yeah, but I feel like it really changes the podcast a lot, because it
I know.
went from a really comical podcast,
Yeah.
as far as making fun of the whole thing, to
I know.
to now we're basically honoring the whole movie.
I know. That's just the way it is.
That's what's gonna happen throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
Just like Nick can't stick to a goddamn genre.
Yeah.
Neither can we.
Yeah. But we got to give credit where it's due. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It was a very good movie, and I was disappointed the entire time. And I honestly said it so many fucking times. I was like, this is a really good movie.
Yeah,
This is gonna
it's-
be a really hard podcast tonight because this is
I
a really
know.
good movie.
It hurts so bad.
It's so
and I
bad.
really think we're going to have to disqualify it from the competition.
I can't disqualify it from the competition because Nick was in it.
Well, let me
And-
just say
and
this.
honestly, no, fuck you. Because for one moment, I'm gonna say this.
Okay.
Regardless of the fact that Nick was in it,
Yeah.
it was still a good movie. And I honestly think that
I
alone,
knew
have
you
watched
were going to say
movies-
that.
I have watched movies in my lifetime, and I know that we will get to them in time, that Nick, his role in the movie, Sorcerer's Apprentice, fucked the movie. Fucked the movie.
Well, that's
His
why I was saying.
presence destroyed the movie. And in this movie, he did not destroy
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
That alone allows it, from in my perspective,
Okay.
to continue
Yeah.
on.
You just had to be a rebel. You had to be a damn Rusty James about this
I'm
whole thing.
sorry, motherfucker, but you were about to disqualify this
Okay,
movie, and
well-
I couldn't let it go.
Here's what we'll do. I won't disqualify it, but if
Well, fine.
either of you two sons of bitches chooses this as the best of the 5, I'm gonna fucking cut you from this shit.
I'm sorry, but if I have to compare, as of right now, if I'm comparing this to fucking Valley Girl, there's not a lot of competition.
How can you do that? How can
Because
The-
fucking Valley Girl.
the cage
Fucking
outs?
Valley Girl. You want to watch it again?
Hell no.
Watch it again.
Hell no. I'd rather be deaf and colorblind.
Absolutely. And you just were watching Rumblefish, and it was still a better movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else can we say about Rumblefish? Honestly.
Goddamn fantastic. Fucking standing ovation to motherfucking Francis Ford Coppola. Even though
Right.
you have a shit dirtbag as a goddamn nephew, you still managed to be able to do an amazing job. And you have
Wait.
the goddamn ball sack at the end to fucking dedicate the movie to Nick's father.
Did
who
he?
Yeah, he did. At the end, he dedicated the movie to August Coppola, Nick's father.
Oh.
Yeah, that takes a certain amount of cojones. If you're gonna dedicate it to the goddamn scum of the earth, Nicolas Cage. I'm just kidding. He's a fantastic actor.
Wow.
No.
This was supposed to be an appreciation of Nick.
It is.
You're always shitting on him.
Because we've watched 2 movies now. So
Okay.
far, he's done Valley Girl, which is a goddamn abomination, and
Yeah.
Rumblefish, where honestly he wasn't bad.
Well,
yeah, because he was left out of the movie.
His character was a goddamn destruction of Valley Girl. I think that if you had given the Valley Girl role to a different actor, that would have been a totally different movie.
Okay.
But we'll save that for another day.
The final thing I want to say isn't about the movie. It's about Francis, Ford Cars and Trucks, Coppola.
Ford Cars.
Um, I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but the big hitters I have, and of course they're classics. They're excellent. But the other ones I haven't because I know that his range is quite diverse.
Absolutely.
And I want you guys, the final thought for this, I want you guys to watch this trailer for a movie that Francis Ford Coppola was involved in called Battle Beyond the Sun. And it may be the contender for the best of his films that I've ever seen. And I found this through Amazon. You know, after you watch a movie on Amazon, it will recommend you other ones by the same actor, director, what have you. And so I got this one, and I was like, holy shit, he actually was a part of this? So I'm going to send it to you now. I want you guys to watch this. So we're going to have our first reaction.
Are you watching this, Steve?
Wait.
No!
You're not supposed to watch it yet.
Wait!
Oh,
Follow the
Start it
rules.
over.
all right.
All right, you guys.
I couldn't hear you anymore because it's so loud.
Okay, you guys ready?
Ah, the giant vagina mouth.
Did you fuck it?
A tooth vagina.
I tell
Vagina
you,
vagina
I would do it
dentata.
if you were there with me. Double team, and we're good. Too intimidating on my own, though.
That thing could fit our whole bodies in it.
That's what I'm saying. Good morning, sunshine.
Battle Beyond the Sun. Brought to you by the director of The Godfather.
Rock hard.
Rock hard.
Man.
That's what I love to
Rock
hear.
hard.
Yeah, I just wanted you guys to see that. So that's why when I see Francis Ford Coppola,
Copula.
it is Coppola. It is
No,
Coppola.
it's Copula.
Coppola. I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know.
I've been pronouncing things correctly since Separative.
I was waiting, but you've been pronouncing it correctly the whole time. Did you realize that?
Separative. His name is Separative.
If anybody out there has played Final Fantasy VII, Steve explained the game to me before I played it, and so I believe that the villain's name was Separatith.
Yeah, it's Separative.
And then I played it. I'm like, there isn't even a damn D in his name.
It's fucking Separative.
Hell, do you get
Don't be a goddamn piece of shit.
Separatith?
It's Separative.
Alrighty.
Whatever.
Well, the next
Have
film.
fun in hell.
The next film we're going to be watching on Late Night Cage Fight is called Racing with the Moon, released in 1984.
How come it sounds so much cooler when you say late night cage fight than when I say it?
Oh, it sounds cool. Everything you say is cool. Don't worry, baby.
No, it sounds way better when you say it.
Probably because I have a better microphone. No. Oh, Sean Penn. Sean Penn stars in Racing with the Moon.
Sean Penn does star in it.
Yeah, and his brother was in Rumblefish.
That's right.
Did you know that?
That's right.
Yep, Chris Penn
That's right.
was B.J. Jackson. All right.
My hope is that Nick plays a slightly larger role in this movie.
Oh, me too.
Because as much as I thoroughly enjoyed Rumblefish,
Uh-huh.
more than I thought I would. I was somewhat dreading the idea of watching a black and white movie.
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Oh, yeah.
I
me
was
too.
like, man, and I think all of us kind of were in the same boat because we all sort of put it off until, tonight to really watch it.
Yeah, well, we were all having sex in the boat, so it was the same one.
Well, yeah, right. Yeah, sex in the boat because we all have active sex lives. Yeah.
Henry and Nikki are small-town pals from the blue-collar families with only a short time before they ship off to World War II. Sounds like fun. Henry begins romancing new-to-town Caddy Winger, believing her to be wealthy. That bitch got to go.
Give me the go. I want to go.
Mischievous and irresponsible, Nikki gets into trouble, which forces the other two to become involved, testing their sexual relationship, as well as the sexual friendship between the sexual boys. Starring Sean Penn, Nicolas Cage plays Nikki/Bud. Nikki/Bud. I'm very curious what that means. Is that two characters? Is it like the same character who pretends to be somebody else? Is he a schizophrenic? Does he just play himself and he forgets his name in the movie and calls himself another name and they just left it in?
I think he changes his sex.
I don't know.
His
I'm still kind of plot keywords here: male nudity, bare-chested male, friendship, best friend.
Yeah.
Rock hard.
That was
Sorry.
hashtag.
The last one wasn't a keyword. That was just my personal emotion.
Nick Cage, late night cage fight. Hashtag.
Late night cage fight.
Hashtag rock hard.
Hashtag rack hard.
Rack hard.
Odd.
Rack.
God, we can't even talk at this point. God, I'm glad we're done with this.
Glass of whiskey, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us for episode 2 of Late Night Cage Fight. That was Rumblefish.
Cage fight.
Join us next time for...
Rumblefish.
What did I say? Cagefish?
Late night cage fight at the Royal Rumblefish.
That's... Let's get ready to... what did I say? Cagefish?
So I have one
Royal fish?
question.
All right, you
I have
were fine.
One final question on Rumblefish.
Okay, let's get it over with.
It's a theoretical question. I'm assuming everyone is drunk enough to be able to answer this at this point.
I've only had one beer.
Fuck you.
Let's hear it, Jesus.
The brother real?
Was
Did he ever exist?
Ask the question again so I can cut
Was
out all
the
this shit.
brother
Ask,
real?
ask it again when I'm not talking.
God damn it! Was the brother real?
That was my point, man. I think it's supposed to be up in the air.
But that's my question. My question stands. It can be up in the air all at once. That's my question.
I think they covered it. They covered both ends of the spectrum.
What's your opinion? I don't care what they've covered.
I think he can be both. I think he can. I think he can. For whoever wants to believe that it was supposed to be multi-personalities, it could have very well worked. But it could also work with him being his own guy, because he did, interact a little bit with other people, not a lot, but then you could just say, because everything was basically Rusty James's point of view from when you were seeing Motorcycle Boy interacting with other people. So yeah, you could say it was either way. But one thing I also wanted to mention, this is a little off topic, I'll just say it quick, is I thought it was interesting that the whole movie you hear Rusty James, Rusty James, Rusty James. I think Motorcycle Boy's name was Michael. You hear it one time.
Oh, yeah.
In the whole movie.
It's true.
Yeah. Well, I got two things. First, my response to that question is it's personal and it's none of your business. Second thing is, I was a little disappointed because when I saw that there was somebody named Motorcycle Boy in the movie, I thought it was going to be like a machine-human hybrid, like a motorcycle with a head and arms. So, yeah, like did you ever see the cover of that Lady Gaga album where she's a motorcycle? She's like Motorcycle Bitch. I thought it was going to be like that, and then I saw, oh, he's just a guy.
Motorboat Boy.
Motorboat Boy. That would be cool too. Any kind of vehicle with a head or a human torso would have been great.
Yeah.
But instead, I mean, it was already a surreal movie.
Like a dick bicycle.
Like a dick bicycle.
Like a dick-cycle.
Yeah, a vehicle with a head.
Yeah.
I would love to see the movie Dick-Sickle starring Nicolas Cage.
Nick's Dick-Sickle.
Personally, I believe that Motorcycle Boy never existed throughout this entire film, because the only time that he was ever acknowledged by any character other than Rusty James was by Steve. And it was by Steve when he was really fucked up.
What about their dad?
Their dad doesn't count because he was always fucked up. Always fucked up.
What about all the other characters in the movie that referred to Motorcycle Boy?
They referred to him, but always in the past tense. The only people that acknowledge him in the present tense.
All right, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were Steve in the one scene right after they got their asses beat.
Uh-huh.
Oh, hey.
And the father, who was never like emotionally or intelligently there. He was always fucked up. So
okay.
I firmly believe that he was an imaginary character meant to kind of like further the role, the subconscious kind of.
Yeah, I think he was an aspect of Rusty James.
I'm just taking advantage of the fact that I can have an intellectual conversation on a Nick Cage movie. So
well, that's great. I think he was an aspect of Rusty James.
Yeah,
and the whole
really
point
because they make a point early in the movie of like him like living up to his brother, and he's like, motherfucker, he ain't dead, he ain't gone. And then all of a sudden, like, he shows up again, you know, because he gets really like belligerent about the fact that like he's not a figment of my imagination. He's not gone. He's not in the past. He still exists.
Okay. Here's the point of the movie. Rusty James can't escape this world.
Right.
This prison that he's put himself in.
Absolutely.
Until that part of him who believes he is this other person, his older brother, who he is supposed to become, dies.
Then he goes to the ocean.
That's good.
And he's like, now where are the fucking fish?
Where?
I just let him go.
Fish.
Where's them rumblefish?
Where are them rumblefish? They supposed to be rumbling right here, motherfuckers.
Yeah, but that scene got cut early because if you watch the extras, Jackie Chan shows up and you find out it's the prequel to Rumble in the Bronx.
Shanghai Nights.
Shanghai Nights. Rumble in the Bronx-Fish.
Hey, that's interesting too. The only vehicle you see anybody drive in the whole movie is a motorcycle, correct?
Yeah.
And for not very far either.
That's
right.
true.
Into a guy.
Compared to Valley Girl, where there was a fucking hour-and-a-half scene of them driving around the fucking valley in their goddamn car.
Right, and then
in that scene of drifting in that whole parking lot.
Yeah, so you got both of those, and then you try to tell me that Rumblefish is the better movie. I don't get it, Steve.
I don't either. You're right. Valley Girl was probably the clear winner in this. I mean, that's what Kevin Smith would say.
It is. He'd say a lot of stuff, though.
And Quentin Tarantino and so many other fucking apparently intelligent, successful people. So we don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Quentin Tarantino just got married, by the way.
Quentin Tarantino liked the movie. Kevin Smith liked the movie. They both make more money than we do. Clearly, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Valley Girl, amazing. Rumblefish, shit.
Absolutely.
To go back to what I just said, though, do you find it a little odd that they're in a city and you never see a car?
I don't know what city they were in, Kevin. They could have been in fucking.
You think they were? You think that where there's no cars?
Where there's no cars, because all people are Amish.
Yeah.
They have to drive goddamn horses.
I guess you do. Now I do take that back. You do see buses when she's getting on the school bus.
Right.
It's true.
It's
true. Yeah. Barely though. Barely.
Yeah.
You only see buses of her walking by one and her little sister going, "Give me that D."
Basically, they don't walk out on the roads. I guess they just go through the alleys once in a while.
Her little sister is DTF as F. Man.
She's
Bucky?
12 years old, but she
was that her name, Bucky?
Bucky? Well, she just looks like Bucky.
Yeah, right.
I bet she's a freak on way more than.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Late Night Cage Fight.
I love making his job challenging.
Yes, he does. Catch us next time where we review Nicolas Cage's next movie, 1984's Racing with the Moon. Again, he is not the star, so sadly, it may be.
He's number 3 on IMDb, though, so.
He's number.
Promising?
Yeah, it's probably a step up. He probably will have more screen time than he did in Rumblefish, but it remains to be seen.
I mean, director's Richard Benjamin, not Coppola. So, I don't know Richard Benjamin. He probably didn't have a career past that, so he probably gave Nick a starring role.
Richard Benjamin? I like how you say that.
Richard Benjamin. Yeah, he hasn't done shit since, like, the 90s, dude. So, honestly, Nick's probably in it, because clearly that was a career ender for him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking at his movies now. Yeah, Nick is going to have a lot of screen time. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell.
Mermaids.
All you got to do is pull up the director's list, and you can tell how much Nick was in it.
My Stepmother is an Alien. Yeah. Nick is going to, he's going to have some good scenes.
Step Monster.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Step Monster.
New Horizons Home Video presents Alan Thicke.
Care to dine?
Robin Riker.
I'm all ears.
George Gaines.
Step into the pitch.
John Aston. And Corey Feldman.
Let's ghetto blaster.
Step Monster. She's mean. She's green. She's your new mom.
Welcome home, sweetie. Time to trim the hedges.
God, if Nick was in that would be a classic. Instead, we got
him and Alan Thicke.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Dick.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Catch us next time. As always, Nick Cage is a pretty cool guy.
NCAN.
NCAN. We appreciate you, Nick. Please make love to all the women.
All of them.
In the world.
And think of us.
Unless they have a disease. We don't want you to get any diseases.
I don't mind.
Late Night Cage Fight.
Cocaine and hookers, my friend. Cocaine and hookers, my friend. Cocaine and hookers, my friend. Cocaine and hookers, my friend.